Hi guys, welcome back to the Az&Riz YouTube channel. Today you've got me, Riz, and I'm going to be covering my top tips when it comes to you completing your CV. Before we get into it, please like and subscribe and leave a comment down below in terms of what you guys want to see moving forward. Let's get straight into it. So now you'll see there's a template on the screen right now. I've used this template several times to apply for all my jobs. It also helped me secure a job at Deloitte, where I'm currently working as a senior consultant in the program leadership space. Before we go into the actual template, just some basic stuff that I want to cover. When it comes to you filling out your CV, make sure you use a good font. I use Arial and a font size. Anything below 9 or 8 I wouldn't recommend, as it will be too small to read. Also, at the beginning of your CV, you have, your name, your contact details, etc. When it comes to email addresses, you gotta make sure that it's a professional email address, preferably your name and your surname, if you are able to get that. Make sure you're not using any funny email addresses that you had when you was in school or in college, whatever. Keep it strictly professional. Now let's go straight into the template. The first section is a profile. So what exactly should this section contain? It should be an overview about yourself. So for example, how many years experience you have, working in whatever capacity you're currently working in. What industries have you worked in? Like myself, in the previous videos, I said I worked in healthcare, telecoms, financial services, etc. List out some of the key skills. Now, when you're listing out the key skills, make sure you look at the job specification. So in the job specification, there could be, team building, vendor management, stakeholder management, MS Access. Make sure you put that in your profile. So when a recruiter is looking through your CV, right there at the top section of the CV, you have those key skills listed that they're looking for. Also, list out what type of projects you've worked in, very high level. This could be, regulatory projects, continuous improvement projects. When it comes to kind of like regulatory projects, kind of list out the specific projects that you worked on. So for example, it could be a GDPR program that you worked on, it could be an AML program that you worked on, etc. The next section is the achievement section. So here you want to list out key achievements you made throughout your career. Now these items should be significant, and this could be items such as, you leading large transformation programs from start to finish, promotions that you achieved in a short space of time, how you implemented a process to help the organization achieve a certain goal. So for example, you may have improve the process that the organization has. Talk about some side of desk activities that you did while you was at your current role or at your previous role. So this would be large key achievements that you've done in your previous roles and in your current roles. Next, we're going to the professional qualifications. Now, again, look at the job spec. Some of the job spec, and I'm going to talk from a project management capacity, right? They might say, yeah, we want this person to have a Prince 2 qualification, we want them to have a P3O qualification, blah, blah, blah. There might be specific criteria or qualifications that the recruiter is looking for. Make sure you've done those courses and you've listed exactly what you've done. So Prince 2, P3O, Agile, whatever, list that there and the date that you've achieved that qualification. Next, we're going to the education. So this is basically listing out your degrees and what you achieved, i.e. a first, a 2-1, etc., 2-2. Obviously, in different countries, they have different classifications. But here you will list out your degrees. So information systems business is what I did. I put first class, and then I'll put the month and the year that I achieved that in. Obviously, if you've done MBA, if you've done extra educational degrees, list that in there as well. Next, we're going to jump into the core competency based section of the CV. Here again, it's critical that you look at the job specification again, right? So I know I keep going back to job specification, but when you're applying for any job, right, you need to, number one, look at the job application and have a look through it, scan through it, and understand what the key skills or key competencies that they want you to have. Then go over to your CV, and then these items that we're going through right now, make sure that you mirror whatever's the requirements are in the job spec onto your CV. So in the core competencies section, what I've done, and again, this is focused on a program management perspective or project management perspective, is list out kind of the core competencies that you expect. So, and I've split it by different pillars. So leadership and people, financials, planning, project methodologies, software, And again, look at the job spec. So underneath leadership and people, as an example, I've got stakeholder management, mentoring, communication, situational leadership. Under financials, I've got portfolio budgeting, business planning, capex, opex, etc. So list out these key skills that they want you to have. Also, some skills that you think will be relevant to the job as well. So for example, if you're applying for a project management role, it could be, Prince 2 that they want you to have. It could be understanding of frameworks or delivery methodologies, agile, waterfall methods, etc. RAID management. Also, when it comes to the software, again, from project management capacity, Microsoft Project, where we use to develop our plans, SharePoint, HP Navigator, Visio, etc. Obviously, if you're going for a coding role or if you're going for a different type of role, list those particular softwares. I don't know, MATLAB as an example in that section. Next, we jump into the employment history. So in the template, what I've done is I've only devised a section there for you to follow. So the way that this works is, and it's worked for me, is that we have the position and the job role. So the position in banks, typically, my background is financial services. You will have analyst, associate, assistant vice president, MD, etc. Here you will list the position. So for example, assistant vice president, the job role, that could be a PMO portfolio manager, program manager, whatever your job role is. I know in certain industries, they don't have that type of leveling when it comes to position. So you can remove the position and just put the job role that you're currently doing. Then you want to add the date. Obviously, the start date and end date. And if it's your current role, you'll just put your start date hyphen current role. Enter the company name and address. And then after you go into your experience of what you achieved and what you've done in that role. Now, I want to emphasize, make sure you note down what you've done as an individual, not what you've done as a team, because at the end of the day, when you go to the interview, the interviewer wants to know what you've done. Also, the recruiter wants to know what you've done. Say, for example, if you pass the first step, which is the online application and the CV, they might pick up the phone to you and say, yeah, give me a little rundown of your CV, and you need to speak about what you've done as an individual. So this could be, projects that you've managed, side of desk activities that you've done, training that you've done at that organization, etc. So the typical activities that you've done at that role. Also, what I like to do is go deeper. So at the beginning here, right, underneath this section, you list out, some key bullet points of what you've done in that role. Then I wrote projects managed at company, so the company that you're working at. Then list out the project's name. Then underneath, talk about that project. So if it's a regulatory project, what was the project? What was the size of the project? What was the budget of the project? What you did and how you deliver that project. So again, going back to our job specification piece, and I know I keep repeating it, but it is a key document, guys. Go back there and see the type of experience that they're looking for. So they could say, okay, we want this person to have experience in working on a GDPR program. We want this person to have experience working in a IT development situation, right? So you need to make sure that you call these things out when you're noting down your employment history. So let's say, for example, GDPR program, they want you to have a experience on a GDPR program, leading a GDPR program. Here you'll talk about what you did as an individual to help your company or your previous company to achieve that goal. So you may have said, yeah, I manage risk and issues effectively. I run the governance forums. I did problem solving when it comes to doing impact assessments to understand how the regulation will affect the business. I did the as-is analysis and 2B, all that stuff, right? All that classic project management stuff that you would expect any professional to do. So you got to make sure you note that there. Obviously, me, I've worked in 4 or 5 different organizations, so I would list, what I've done in those 4 or 5 organizations. Typically, once you get to a certain level, once you're 5 years or 6 years into your career, you don't really put, your internship that you did, if you did do one. So I did an internship at GE Healthcare. Typically, I wouldn't put that there anymore because I've got enough experience as I've been working for 5 to 6 years. Then we go into kind of the interest section. So again, I know this is going to sound the typical advice that everyone gives you. But here, note down, what exactly is it that you're interested in. Again, it gives the recruiter, the interviewer, a more understanding about you and how you are, what you like to do outside of your professional life, right? At the end of the day, you're going into a job, you're going to spend, majority of your time in that job. So if there are, some common hobbies or common activities that you like to do, that will also help the recruiter to understand, yeah, we can offer this person, gym memberships, we have a five-a-side football team, whatever. Also, what I would say is make sure you write down keeping up to date with current and financial affairs, right? Obviously, I'm talking from a financial services perspective. Reading non-fiction and self-development books. This will give the recruiter and also the interviewer an understanding that this person is also outside of the professional space, is trying to improve themselves. And then you doing that outside of your working hours, that will also bring your A game, help you to bring your A game back to, the work world. Also, list any community projects that you may do. You might do fundraising, you might work with youth in your local area, you might work in a charity shop, whatever you do, list that there. Again, it's giving the interviewer and the recruiter an understanding of how you are outside of the professional space. So guys, I would say those are kind of my key rundown of the CV. Like I said before, like and subscribe, leave a comment down below in terms of what you want to see next. And yeah, if you need any help, reach out to me on the Instagram or on the LinkedIn. Cheers guys.